Welcome back to Enlighten Up for episode 71, Starseed Past Lives, Firefly Besties, and Brian's First Vision with Erin Gallagher. Erin is an Akashic Records reader, and she is back here on the show today to read Lisa's Akashic Records, and we're going to find out the importance of balance and boundaries and how our perceived limitations can hold us back from making the choices that really fulfill our heart. We're going to discuss multidimensional past lives and starseed past lives. Is it possible that you could be an old soul, however, only have a few human lifetimes? Perhaps your old soul is from ET lifetimes. We're going to talk about how Lisa and I are Firefly Besties, and later on in the show, don't miss it, but Brian has his first vision on this episode. You don't want to miss it. So all of that's coming up in episode 71, so let's jump right into the episode and find out what Erin has to share with us. Hi everyone, welcome back to Enlighten Up. We are happy to be back with you again, and this week we have a very interesting episode put aside for you all. We are going to be looking into the soul records of Lisa Watson, one of our beautiful co-hosts. We've brought back Erin Gallagher to the show, who's been on our show a couple of times already. Erin, how are you?
Hello, I'm feeling really good, and I'm really excited to do this now that I did it for Brian and Lisa, and hopefully Nicole coming up next. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, you better.
Well, for all of our listeners, because we definitely have some new listeners, so for anyone who's new to the show or maybe hasn't caught any of Erin's past episodes, she is a tarot card reader and Akashic Records reader. She also teaches both tarot card and Akashic Record reading, which I think is really cool. She's a clairvoyant medium and an energy healer. So, you have the most important task of looking into Lisa's soul today.
So important.
We're all excited about that.
I'm excited too.
It could be scary.
Yeah.
I did a grounding meditation before I came in. I'm like, okay, I got to get ready for this one.
Yeah, so I know, right?
I'm not sure how I should take that.
Well, because I have a feeling there's going to be like multidimensional information coming in from different sources. And so I'm really interested and excited to kind of like tap into everything that comes up and just play, you know?
You're probably going to get information in light language that you won't understand.
Yeah, I might just start saying light language and be like, what the hell is happening to me?
Well, you bring up a very interesting point, because you had Brian on the show, who is our skeptic and believes he's not as awakened as Lisa and I, which I would beg to differ on certain things. But how does the Akashic Records reading work with different people depending on how consciously aware they are or where they're at in their journey? Does that change the readings in any way?
It's not so much the soul of the person, because the soul of the person being read is its most beautiful, unblemished state. And it's not, when I tap into the records, it's about the person's soul, how it is regardless of its human or otherwise expression. So it has nothing to do with how the person expresses on a human level or what their thoughts, beliefs, because all that stuff is stuff that we put on as we grow up and learn, and most of it's survival and stuff like that. But so there's that. And also when I open each person's records, I'm opening from their own masters, teachers, and loved ones, which that's a whole other episode to talk about what those beings represent and who they are. But when I'm opening each individual soul has their own masters, teachers, and loved ones. So that could be, there could be differing information based on that as well.
Okay. And I guess I would assume though too, because I understand that depending on where you are in your journey, you're never going to be told more than what is perfect for you to hear in that moment.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up, Nicole, because I have a lot of people that come in with a lot of fear and, I don't want to hear something that I'm not ready for, or they think it's, a psychic reading. So I have to tell people ahead of time, this is not a psychic reading. Anything you get in the Akashic Records is for the growth of your soul. So it's not going to tell you what to do or what's right or wrong. It's just going to say, well, you have all these choices. You can do this or that. This is what I see coming up, but it's up to you whether to do that or do this. And it's kind of a better space to play around with play around in than it is to, get like specific information that, especially that your ego needs. If you come in saying, this is what I want to hear, and you don't hear that, then sometimes people can so I have to kind of give them an intro before we do the reading. But, sorry, what was the question you asked about?
No, I think we answered it.
Just giving information that's pertaining to my journey now.
Oh, that's it. That's another thing I wanted to say is your masters, teachers, and loved ones are charged with the protection and growth of your soul. And they take that very seriously. And so it's very important when I'm getting information as the conduit, they only give me information that your soul is ready to hear at the point it is right now. So if there's something whether there's information in there where your human self or your ego isn't ready to hear, it will not tell you, or your soul is not at a place where it's ready to hear. Or sometimes it will tell me, and then it will say, you can know, but don't tell them, which is interesting. And so, or sometimes I'll get information where I'm like, are you sure I should say that? And they'll tell me yes or no. So it's really up to me as the conduit to kind of, edit or not edit, depending on what comes through.
Cool. And I just want to say that when you were saying all that, I looked at my phone and it was 11:11. So
yay! Oh my God, that makes me happy.
Brian's rolling his eyes, yet he points it out to me daily.
I know, Brian. Please, you are one of us now on the whole time thing.
One of us.
Okay, so I'm going to let you guys get to it.
Okay, awesome. So Lisa told me her full legal name before the break, or before we re-recorded. Lisa, do you want me to, actually, when I read this, I leave a space to say your full name. I may say it internally or I may say it out loud. So you don't mind either way, do you?
No, I don't mind.
Okay, great. All right. Do you have questions or do you not?
I do have some questions.
Okay, good. That will help because, and as we ask the questions, if you have any clarifying questions that come up, just write those down. So after I say what I say, you can say, oh, what about this? Because like I said, I tell everyone, and I say it over and over again, that the Akashic Records is really, and your masters, teachers, and loved ones want you to have fun in the space. Like, I feel like they really give me the feeling of, y'all take things too seriously. That's what they're always saying to me. Like, human beings are way too serious. Like, let it go, have fun, play. So get curious and ask whatever you want, and just we'll have a fun time with it. So if there's nothing further you guys want to add, I'll just start with the opening prayer. As we elevate and transcend all of time and space and allow our awareness to slowly expand, it is within this expansion that our illusion of impermanence falls away, and we are free to stand in a state of grace and humility as we honor this passage into the eternity of Lisa's soul. It is within this state that Lisa Kimberly Watson stands boldly in the light of the Akashic Records. It is within this state that Lisa Kimberly Watson surrenders to the infinite wisdom of the Lords of the Records. And it is within this state that Lisa Kimberly Watson acknowledges the guidance of her masters, teachers, and loved ones. The records are now open. Okay, so we have the records open, and I think I did this last time with Brian, so I'm just going to kind of start by kind of just tuning in and seeing if there's any information that comes in right away or see any general messages. Does that sound good to you?
Yes.
Okay, great. It's interesting. The first thing I see is kind of like, do you guys know that old, oh my God, I'm really aging myself right now. Atari game, Pong, is it Pong?
I've heard of it.
The first video game ever.
Yeah, it's like where it's like two like boards on either side that go up and down, and there's one ball that goes back and forth, and you have to rise the platform.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes.
It's like I saw like a mixture of that, but instead of the ball, it's like planets. So I am seeing this like extra planetary, it's like it's kind of like traveling interdimensionally or astral traveling. I feel like the expression of your soul has been kind of bouncing around, playing around in different dimensions for probably thousands of years. And what's interesting is that I'm seeing like that you do that in this expression, in your human expression. So it's interesting. It's like usually where it's like each individual life in a person or in a being's soul, they're in a different place having a different experience, or a different environment having a different experience. But I feel like whatever experience you're in the expression of whatever your soul is experiencing at the time, you are having multiple expressions within that one, which makes sense for what I know about you, but also sounds really exhausting. It feels exhausting. Do you feel exhausted from it?
I do feel exhausted.
Yeah, I feel like I can feel it in my body, like I just want to really deepen my breath. Like I feel like I've been running on a treadmill, and I also feel really like lethargic. And go ahead.
I was just thinking yesterday, I feel lately like I've been walking through molasses. Like the air is so thick, I feel like everything is taking me so much effort.
Yeah, I can feel it. And it's like, it's like the air gets thicker. I'm having to deepen my breath. I'm feeling like just fatigued and tired and just, so yeah, that makes sense. And it's just them connecting the two for you, saying that's why this is happening. That's why, and it's not just your human self that's exhausted. It's just lots of experiences being stuffed into other experiences. It's like every experience your soul chooses to have. It's like, let's have 1,000 more experiences in the same one. It's just a lot.
I feel like I like to pile things on me for some reason.
Yeah,
spiritually.
Yeah.
I mean, just like,
do you get joy from that, or do you get like, what do you feel like? Okay, I'm seeing two separate things. Like, do you feel like it's part of your like birthright, like I must do this and this is what I need to do, or do you do it because it's like, this is fun, let's play?
I feel like I need to do it.
Yeah.
Like I have this calling to, gather as much information and have as many experiences, even if they're not great, as possible.
Yeah.
And do it all perfectly.
Yeah, that's where the exhaustion comes in. That's where the pressure comes in. And that's a very human thing. So that's normal. So yeah, that's where the advice comes in in other expressions of your soul where you are less embodied. Like in this soul, we're in this small embodied vessel where everything we do, especially spiritually, takes a toll on our physical body. So I don't know if you've or have learned to do techniques to like, to ground yourself or to take space. It reminds me, so I'm being shown, sometimes I'm shown my own memories or my own things in order to illustrate something. So I'm being shown my own business coach. She did a seminar this weekend in Denver, and she was asking us, she goes, how long do you think, because she is on stage for like 8 hours a day doing this event. She said, how long do you think I prepare for this event? And all of us were like, oh, like, days or hours or whatever. And what she was asking was, how long do I prepare my body before I go on stage? Which is like just being in meditation or being in her womb space, that she calls it, like, and just breathing and being solitude. And she said 3 hours. I just spend 3 hours in meditation before I go on stage. So it's not as easy as it seems to everyone else, because she goes on stage and she's like totally grounded and she's just coaching everyone and she's on it. So what your master's teachers and loved ones are telling me by showing me this is, if you already don't have something in place, then please put something in place to protect your physical body, because you can still, they want you to do this spiritual work. It's just when the perfection comes in, or the I need to do this comes in, and you're not doing the same amount of work on your own embodiment and meditational solitude space, that it needs to be balanced. Does that make sense?
Yes. I do those things. I'm sure I could do them more often, but I definitely
Okay,
do those
good.
things.
Yeah, they're just showing me like scales. So just having balance with that. And um, there's like this separation between need and want. If you can find a way, or if you want to ask how, to, because I do this as well, where I feel I'm constantly moving and shaking and doing the spiritual work. And sometimes I feel exhausted and I'm like, why am I doing it this way? It's because we're being told that by our, like, to have fun with it, as opposed to like, I need to do this because this is what my soul chose to do, is like, we get so serious about it. So trying to find a way to switch perspective from I need to I desire to do this because I love it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So if you have any questions or want to ask questions, clarifying questions on what I just said, we can do that.
Okay. The first question that I have is just clarification on my purpose and currently, like, where to put my energy and my skills.
Okay. I love this question because it used to be, what is my soul's purpose, or what is my soul? And I realized that a soul has literally like billions of purposes or things that it could be doing at one certain time. So I'm just going to make this question, what is my current life purpose?
Yes.
And then whatever comes up, we can also ask if it's applicable. What is, or how can I effectively or practically move through it, or what's the first step, or whatever. Okay, so I'll just ask, what's my current life purpose? I see a little girl. I think this has happened before, where when I was talking to you, I saw a little girl, but sometimes this could be your own child. Sometimes this could be an inner child. Do you have a daughter?
No, I have 2 sons.
Okay.
Brian has a daughter, though.
Yeah, we talked about her. I remember that. Let me ask more about this. Yeah, I think it's, what I'm feeling is that it's your inner child. And because I'm seeing her like skip and jump. So playfulness. I'm hearing being present. It's interesting because sometimes I'll get very specific steps. Sometimes I'll get where it shows me one thing, and then I'll sometimes see it as a movie and see like my perspective get small on one thing. And for you, and this is funny because for you, this is a challenge I'm feeling, which is to not feel like you have to do anything and just play and enjoy your life.
Yeah, that is hard for me, actually.
Yeah. Because, and also just human beings, we feel like what's the next thing I have to be doing? And it reminds me of something I heard recently, which is, we are human beings, not human doings. And it's like,
I seem to make choices that make me work harder.
yeah. And that's what they're showing me. It's like, to alleviate the need to do, like, if we're talking about purpose is how to expand our soul and learn. And the way to expand your soul at this time, because you've done so in so many spiritual ways and so many analytical ways, and opening things up and work. This is more about soul level work on an emotional level, on a being okay with what is, without it having to be crowded with things you have to do. It's interesting because sometimes I'll get very sparse information and I think, oh gosh, I really need to keep asking the masters, teachers, and loved ones. I need more support because nothing's coming through. But this time I'm feeling like it's supposed to be sparse. Like, it's supposed to be, the way that you expand your soul is to challenge yourself. And the challenge for you is to not need to be doing so many things. Which I know is like, I have the same experience as you, where I always want to be like doing. So I feel the anxiety in that, because if I got told that in Akashic Records reading, I would hate that answer.
Well, I've been doing that for the past year, and I feel like I'm handcuffed.
Oh, interesting.
Like,
yeah, you're like, what is this? Yeah, because I keep feeling this transitionary. So this is something I've been shown in the Akashic Records, which is that we have all, they laugh at us how spiritual, like us spiritual people, quote unquote, they show me quotes on Earth, because we have created all these rules around like how this, like, because we do get information about how spiritual, how dimensions look, and how quantum healing works, and how metaphysics works. And they kind of laugh at us because they're like, you have all these analytical human descriptions for spiritual experiences that you may or may not have had, and that you may or may not know, what the hell you're talking about. It's like putting a scientific hypothesis on something that you can't define. So what it's telling us is to be in our expression and be present with what it is, instead of needing to delve so analytically into it. And we've created this definition that we write the soul contract in the spiritual level, and then we come onto Earth if we choose to be in an Earth body in an incarnation, and then we learn all these lessons, and then that's one lifetime, and then we die, and then we're a spirit again, and then we write another soul contract, etc. And partly that's true, but also we forget that if we're talking about being eternal, that we don't only have one expression of our human self in this one life. We can write a new soul contract 5,000 times in one human lifetime. So that's what it's showing me for you, is that you have many lifetimes in this lifetime. And because you're so, spiritually adept and have had all these experiences in different, multidimensional environments, that you can write your own soul contract. You can basically choose whatever experience you want to have. It's like they're showing me those choose your own adventure books. They're showing me a lot of old references. Atari. And
it's because I'm old.
Well, I remember those books too. So, but oh geez. Yeah. So you're at the point now where you can write whatever you want. You can create whatever you want. I'm going to keep asking for more details, but is there anything, if you were to sit down openly with this quote unquote soul contract and write your own and choose whatever you wanted to do, would there be one thing that you haven't done that you've always wanted to do?
Travel the world.
Yeah. So you can write that. It's like setting intentions, but because you're you, like anyone else, excuse me, well, not anyone else, but a lot of human beings are when they set intentions or sit down to write out like what they want to do or their desires, they're writing from an egoic place. But you've had such experience in all these different dimensional awarenesses that when you write that, it'll be easier to tap into. So, let me put world travel into the space and see what comes up. Interesting. So this happens sometimes where they want me to ask you. So if world travel, like how does that ideally look in your life, and how could you make that possible?
Ideally it looks like I could just go wherever I want and experience all these amazing places that I want to go.
And what in your human, because there's human limitations that come up out of fear all the time. So are there any fears when you say that? What response do you get in your body? Is it like, oh, I can't do this because of that? Or is it like, sure, let's go?
Initially it's sure, let's go. And then I remember what my checking account looks like.
Okay, so money limitations. Are there any other limitations that keep you from, or perceived limitations that keep you from doing this?
No.
Okay. There's nothing holding you
where
you are?
We're,
okay.
We're developing an app, and we work from home, but, we have goals here that we're trying to achieve. So we're not thinking about getting up and traveling right now. We're spending our resources on other things.
So is it truly a desire for now? Is it something that if you were because they're kind of bargaining with me. They're like, so if you get this opportunity to travel, would you even take it? I feel like what happens is a lot of times people talk about what their desires are, but if it was actually given to them, they wouldn't do it.
I would most definitely do it.
You would? Okay.
I've been thinking about it the past couple days that screw everything. Let's just do it.
Yeah. Because I'm feeling that, I think that's where that kind of empty space was coming from, is like, and the transitionary period, there's something coming up that you're like, that's why I was asking about the money and the work and like, what limitations are you telling yourself are stopping you? Because they're showing me that there's a little bit of a resistance, because they're like, we want to give her what she wants. We want to, because the only person or the only thing standing in our way from doing whatever the hell we want to do at any given time is our own selves and our
beliefs.
Yeah. And our perceived limitations, et cetera, et cetera. But if we really ask the universe and put ourselves in a position where we are open and available to do those things, then we can do them. But if there's like mixed messages saying like, oh, I really want to travel, but then your human self or your ego or your body says like, but I need to do work, I need to develop this app, I can't leave, I have this, I have money, then it's going to be like, I'm confused. So I'm feeling a little bit of that.
So when Brian and I met, it seemed like we had this common goal. We didn't talk really about travel per se, and we did, but it was more like, let's just go everywhere together. I've always felt like one of the reasons that Brian and I are together is so that we can go everywhere together.
Yeah. I just heard push each other. So that's like the way that you embody that purpose, is to always be pushing one another into actually doing it. Because that's part of the reason that your souls found one another, is to push each other into, and when I said into, they were like, no, past, to push each other past your perceived limitations, or we can't do, and support each other in, they just said getting off your ass and doing it. I was like, gonna say a nice way. And I'm like, no.
Can I, as the best friend, offer some insight here?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Lisa, are you okay with that?
Of course.
From what you've told me over the last year and a half of knowing you and what's come up, I would say that one of your limitations is your back, your body.
It has been, but I feel like it's better to this.
But I don't think you trust it. I don't think you trust it yet. So it has definitely gotten better, but I don't think you trust in your back or your body's health yet fully, that you could travel and know that something may not come up and be in a place where you can't do everything that you want to do.
If I were by myself, that's true. But if I went with Brian, I would feel safe.
And would you make the decision to travel without Brian making the decision?
Yes.
Because one of the things that, is that you and I, when we talked a couple weeks ago, that you said you don't like to be the one to make the decision. Like you want someone to tell you, okay, this is what we're doing.
Right.
So I just feel like that if that were to come up and say you can travel, would you make the decision on your own? Or would you need Brian to say, yeah, let's do it? Or could you say, yeah, we're going to do this without him saying that?
Not sure. I'll have to think on that one.
It's like a magic 8-ball response.
The answer is unclear. Yeah, it's because I'm seeing this being like the only thing stopping it is your own perceived limitations. But because I keep seeing, so I have what I call like a spiritual toolbox. So I'll see certain things that mean the same thing to me. And I'm seeing like two fists like coming at one another. So it's like there's one of the sides is like travel and going forward. And the other side is like your human expression. And like, I got to stay here to do this and do that. And they're both like just smashing into one another and just staying there. One can't, unless one like, I'm seeing like create space above it and is able to rise up and then go over top of it, then parallel things can happen. Like you can still work over while you travel. You can make money while you travel. So you can like, as long as you set up ways to do that beforehand as much as you can. I mean, most things are just risk and you kind of just have to jump off ledge. But, what they're saying and what I'm really feeling is no matter what you choose to do, you're going to be supported. So the only thing stopping you is any kind of human-made limitation, which they're showing me, they want to make sure that, that this doesn't, what I'm saying doesn't come off as flippant, because our human limitations are huge. They are huge. And it's very important to look at them and to make sure that we're honoring what they're saying to us and make sure we're honoring the resistance and going completely into it and surrendering to it and saying, okay, like I'm going to go fully into either this stoppage, whatever it is, this fear, and look at it straight in the face and say, I'm here to question you, but also to listen to the information you have to tell me so we can work together to do the things I want to do, as opposed to, I have all these dreams and this and that, and the fear or limitations are there either stopping you or I think our humanness gives us the idea that like when we have a fear of something, that means, we can't do it, or that there's something wrong with us. And it's important that we know that like our fears are just asking us to embrace them and to speak with them about. It's almost like a negotiation. They're showing me you sitting like at a huge conference, like doing a very serious negotiation, like a promotion negotiation or something, but with like your fears sitting around the table. Where you like sit and do like go into each limitation or fear and really have a conversation with it like you would a boss going into negotiation, but to not be so serious with it, to be like, that's the spiritual work, is looking at those things in order to either clear them or to make right with them, to be okay with them in order to move forward anyways. Because it may be that those fears are still there, but you get to say like, okay, got it. And you gave me the information I need, and I am going to do it anyways. And as long as, these things know that you're working with them as opposed to just steamrolling right through them or trying to pretend they aren't there, then it's fine.
So you were saying earlier that, we can live many lives or have many soul contracts within this one life. And I really feel that because, I lived one life. I was married to one person for 25 years and had kids and lived this certain life. And then when that ended, I literally felt like I was born again. Like I had an opportunity to just live a whole new life and start over. And I actually sometimes feel it's really hard on me because I feel like I'm a different person. Like I have, like, my self-confidence is completely different than what it used to be for the previous 30 years of my life. And sometimes I just wonder, like, what happened to me? Like, did a part of me go somewhere? Like, who am I? I feel like, I don't know if it's because I'm in this transition period or what is going on and why I just feel completely not grounded.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And if I may,
any clarity on that would be
I'm
great.
going to go into that because that's actually my experience as well after being, an addict and a drunk basically for 17 years. And I thought that's who I was. I created this like party girl and and I'm the extrovert. And then I got sober and I was like, none of those things. And I've been going through the same thing for the last 4 years. Who am I and what the hell happened? So I feel that very, very strongly and I understand that. And have the same questions. So I know that the many lifetimes gig. So I'm just going to go in and feel like I'm going to have you picture where this is what I do. I kind of create a neutral space. So just think of it as a neutral space, even if it's just like a big empty room or whatever it is, where there's two chairs facing one another. And on one side, there's the you that you are now. And on the other side, there's the you that you were in that relationship, in that marriage. And I'm just going to kind of have us both be in that space and just kind of breathe into that space. And I'm going to see what comes out of there. I might see images. I might hear words. I might listen as you both have a conversation. So just focus on that same image as I do as well, and we'll see what happens. Well, the first thing I feel is that it's like a reunion. It's like a coming home. It's almost like I see that you've created this space where you think of them as you've created completely two different lives with these two women, basically, that are like dying to hang out and talk with one another. Because the first thing I saw is both of them like jump up from their chairs and run to each other and hug and start talking. It's almost like, oh, we're finally able to like tell each other what we've been going through. And it's like, I just feel like it's like long lost sisters that haven't seen each other for years. And it's like, oh my gosh, the reason I did this is because of this. Oh, I get it. Okay, yeah, I did this. It's almost like there was a wall between those two lifetimes that maybe your human self created for protection. And now that I'm putting you in this neutral space, it's like, yay, oh my God, we can finally talk and hang out. And so I'm seeing a lot of like, I'm really feeling this like long lost reunion of souls. It's like soul expressions in the same soul, but it's like it's like the feeling of, so they're showing me like a wilted flower having like water poured on it and cared for and loved and talked to, and I'm seeing the word compassion, so showing compassion for the experience. And is there anything you're getting on your end as you that either goes with this or goes against what I'm saying?
I feel like you're right on track. I miss that other person.
Yeah. So, hold on, let me see. I think this is where like the play comes in, like, cause I see you guys like almost like little girls, like being like, yay, I finally found you. Like, let's go play. It's like, not needing any specific information, but more like, now we get to be free. Now we get to like, the wall is up. So I do feel like just even doing this in the records is dissolving. So when I work in the records, each individual soul to me looks like a light grid. So it's like your light grid looks like a spider web to me, where every decision and timeline change that you make gets like one part of the web will like break, and then you'll go in and create different timelines or different connections. And I'm feeling like there was a big separation between these two, but now that we've connected them in the space of your own Akashic records, that a lot of fears and a lot of limitations and a lot of pain is going to dissolve, and you'll see in the next month. That's what I'm hearing. Like the next month, you'll have a lot of awakenings because this connection has now been like the long lost sister vibe. This connection has now been like reignited or just ignited. And now you'll be able to, the information will flow a lot easier. I feel like your back pain, like any pain in your physical body, is going to lessen, and because these types of disconnections get stuck in our bodies. And so I'm seeing that kind of like start to shake out, like, because I'm seeing like even just sitting in my chair, I'm starting to like stretch my legs, and I'm feeling like a reconnection to the body. So I feel like just like I'm facilitating this reunion, which if you kind of continue doing this work and have these two individuals, these two lifetimes continue to interact, that will really, really help in making you feel like you're moving forward, also making you feel more comfortable in your human expression and in your body. And it'll be easier to do things that you want to do, or new things, because you will have had this newly ignited connection.
Okay.
Yeah, things just feel lighter to me.
Well, I'm going to ask a question about my kids, because I feel like I have such a close connection. They're like Nicole and I call it. They're like my fail safes. They're what keep me
they're your tethers
on this planet. So I just anything I could know about our connection.
Alex
My
and
son
Tony.
Alex, and then Tony. Alex Macaluso and Tony Macaluso.
What I'm being shown is that they chose each other, like their souls before they came here, chose each other before they chose you. Yeah. So
I believe that,
because the first thing it showed me was their souls in a kind of ritual, being together first, and then like deciding, okay, who they're almost saying like, who deserves us? They're like, they came together and they're like, yeah, they're basically like, they understand the awesomeness of their expression of their souls. And it's almost like every soul knows its beauty, and it's very self-loving and stuff like that before it comes in. But yeah, I see that when they chose each other first, it was almost like this expression and this beauty and this love of soul was so much more loving, because they didn't only just appreciate, they had each other to like have an outside perspective of what their soul looked like. It's almost like I see them as like twin souls, or having their own I think I talked about this on the last episode where we did Brian's records, where it was like I was talking about that we're all like source, and it's like a big ocean where we go off into like rivers and tributaries, and it's almost like they're showing me that they created their own little stream tributary off of source, where it was just them two. So I see them being like, I know people I've heard about twin flames. It's not really a twin flame thing, but just kind of like twin souls being together. So I feel them being
they are like twins,
playing one off the other. I kind of see like one finishing the other sentence or something.
They definitely have a connection to each other more so than anybody else. Like, you know, I know they love me, but
Anyone, yeah.
they're more important to each other than anything. Are there any past lives that relate to this current life I'm in that I should know about,
does
or
this
that would help me?
connected to your sons or just you?
You can include them.
Okay. So, because I'm seeing your sons, then I see that. So it's really great. Like, I feel like I could just sit in this connection for hours, like being with them, because they're like hugging and smacking each other on the back and laughing. And I could just like hang out with these dudes forever. I'm like, these guys are great. Just watching their connections, like really, I'm just feeling the love there. So it's a really beautiful, loving space with no judgment. Oh, it's just whenever I get in the records and I feel like this non-judgment, it brings me out of my human expression so much, where I'm like, oh God, if we could just all live in this feeling of non-judgment in our lives, things would be so much more beautiful and loving and free. So I'm feeling that. And then, yeah, I feel them kind of like searching around for you or for the family to be born into, basically. I'm
going to interrupt because I want to ask.
Go ahead.
Because I feel like, was that the purpose of my being with my ex-husband?
Oh, I see.
I felt like that was like that we came together just to have those children.
Yeah. And then I'm feeling that. And then to also to raise them to a certain point, and then the contract was up. Yeah, I don't see your being connected to your ex-husband. I mean, I see it for your soul growth as well, and for his soul growth, but not as much as for, so there's two things. So I'm seeing like internal soul growth and external stuff. And I'm seeing more with you and him, it was external stuff. So it's like you were connected, but not so much for your own connection or him or you than anything external. So not even just your kids, but just the ways that you expressed in your own specific or singular soul missions. It was almost like that, like I'm seeing a platform. So it's like you were giving each other the platform to do that work, but it was not necessarily about your relationship to him or vice versa. It was about all the other stuff that you did. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, that is, so they do show me that, you know, you were in that relationship for all those external things, especially for your children. And that, you know, when you got to, and you knew this, like as a soul and as a human being, like when you had raised them to a certain point, or you had learned all the soul lessons externally, all these external things I'm talking about, then it was like, okay, now there's no more, there's nothing else here. I get to go. I get to move on. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, let me ask about past lives. Okay, what's interesting about this is that sometimes I'll see one specific past life, or they'll bring up the one that's either causing energetic blockage or things. Like sometimes I'll have someone with some kind of pain in their body, and then a past life will come up that's related to that. Say, for instance, someone has lung cancer or something. Then I'll go into past lives and find all of these past lives where they were drowned or suffocated or whatever, and just do a bunch of clearing around that. But what I'm feeling with you is because you've been so many expressions in not just human form, like I'm seeing that your past lives have been more, like I said, like multidimensional and different planet, like starseed collectives and alien collectives and all that stuff, non-sentient beings. And I feel that those are more your past lives than human past lives. Like I feel like you have less human past lives than most souls, and more ascended spiritual beings.
I've been told that twice before.
Yeah, so it feels like this is a very, like, this is one of, I don't want to say your first human life, but I feel like it's one of, it's interesting because usually when somebody's like a young soul in a human body, they'll act that way. Like I have a friend that I know that's I know that she's only this might be her first life as a human, because she's very shallow and selfish. And I say that out of love because it's just, it's like a baby. It's like, hey, I'm here. Now you get to give me everything I want, and so that I can survive. And then, just like a very young kind of expression. And so I feel like you have less human lifetimes than most, but because of your past ascended being and alien lives and starseed lives and all that stuff, that there's a level of other planetary wisdom. So people may think like, oh, you have tons of past lives and you're an old soul, but really they're actually wrong, that you are an old soul in that you've had many other experiences other than human, but not an old human soul. Does that make sense?
Yes. Do I feel like a fish out of water sometimes?
Yes. And that's why you came here. That's what they just said. That's why you came here, because it's like when you've experienced so many multidimensional and ascended being lifetimes, it's like, where can I go? What can my soul do next where I get myself really uncomfortable? Because we're here to like really crack our souls open and get uncomfortable, which sucks as in a human body because it hurts and it can cause physical, mental, and emotional pain and strife and stress. So you chose it, and you chose it for the reason to kind of, they're showing me your soul like lifting weights. like you came here to do heavy lifting of like learning what it's like to be in a human body, and how it's so funny. Whenever I see souls before they come into a human existence, I see them going like, oh, this is so exciting. I'm going to learn heartbreak. Ooh, like, I wonder what heartbreak feels like. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to feel what like death feels like. I wonder what it feels like to lose someone, like my mom, like someone really close. Oh, that's going to be great. Like, I can't wait to feel what that feels like. So the soul doesn't understand that when it gets into the human incarnation, the human self, like what the pain's going to actually feel like. So when we actually do come into being human and we're like, oh shit, like I didn't know it was going to feel like this. And we're so separated from that soul's feeling that's where the pain, like any emotional, mental, or physical pain comes in, because we weren't ready for it or didn't understand, like our soul's going, oh, can I go back?
Yeah, I think that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, this is hard enough. I'm
yes.
done.
Can I go back is what I keep hearing that. And they're saying, yes, you can actually. And not in a way that like you die, but like you can, because you have such command over all of your lifetimes, you have a lot more power than you think you do in going into meditation or going deep into your expression of all those other souls. And like that's where I see where where I was saying earlier, like doing protection stuff to, whether it's grounding yourself, doing meditation, but I'm seeing something separate for you though, like a separate practice that you can bring into your life that will help you to alleviate that stress. Other than just, meditation and yoga or whatever, because they're showing me the word like safe escape. Like, what do you have in place now where you can like have a safety space where you can just like go back into that soul expression of your origin? That's what they're showing me, the word origin. Like, how do you connect to your origin space or your other soul expressions to where you can like be home for a little bit and then like, but still tethered here, and then come back and be like, okay, I had that little like homecoming and now I get to go back. Do you do any, meditation or anything?
Yeah, just meditation, baths, just being alone, sitting alone.
Yeah, solitude.
I like to play with tarot lately.
Oh, good. Yeah, they're just showing me something new, like
light language sometimes.
Yeah, that makes...
Just go be alone and mumble.
Yeah, because that's you like connecting to like the mothership. That's what they're showing me. That's you connecting to your part of your origin and your other expressions of your soul, which makes you feel more settled into this life, because you're like, oh, I get to still communicate even though I'm in this body. So continuing those things, continuing to communicate. I'm just seeing like an active practice, like either like Tai Chi or like connection through movement. Do you like dance or do anything?
I love to be active, and I used to be a runner until I hurt my back, and it's a struggle for me not to be able to run because I used to use that like as a meditation.
Yeah.
So I've been doing Pilates, but it's just nothing has really taken the place of running.
Yeah, it's funny because right when you were talking about running, your guides were like, "Don't run," because that's too because they're showing me that like when you're like it's like that hard cardio where you're like, they're showing me like your feet pounding the pavement, like I can feel the boom of that, like boof boof boof, like it's too heavy and hard.
Jarring.
Yeah, it's too jarring, and it's like it's not even your physical body, it's your soul expression. Like they need you to do things like not softly, but deliberate, slow, methodical, feeling every movement, like some kind of express.
Pilates is like that.
So like Pilates, Tai Chi, expressive dance, just moving your body in a very, so it's like they're showing me the word self-discovery. Like you will discover parts of like they're showing me like tantric work as well, and like sacred sexuality work and womb work. It reminds me of a workshop I went to. It was like I think it was a yoni steam thing or something, but it was also, the beginning of it was us like she led us through an expressive dance where it was like half an hour, but every piece of it, she was like, now focus just on your fingers. And she had us just like focus on the expression of our fingers and how every movement was like, you're just connecting to every piece of your body and your expression in this human body. So I'm showing that that's how you can really connect to and be okay, be more comfortable in this human expression, is by doing that kind of work.
And I know Brian asked this when you did his Akashic records about our relationship, but from my side of the records, I'd like to see what it looks like.
Okay, great. Any specific questions or just your connection in general?
Just, why we were brought together and what our purpose is, what our
joint purpose,
mission, contract, what it's it all about.
First thing I see is you guys, it's like you guys at your wedding, facing each other, just looking really deeply and compassionately into each other's eyes. I'm seeing a connection of very deep respect and honor. I'm seeing a connection of very deep respect and honor, not only for your connection, actually not for your connection at all. It's for who the other person is. I just see this like, ooh, my ear just started ringing. So I'm seeing this like really, there's this, I'm doing this work around allowing love into your life, and how we all walk around like looking for love when actually we should be looking for ways to express our love and to give that love to others in the most untapped way possible. And I see that connection with you guys. I see the that you giving love to the other and supporting the other is more important than what the connection brings, or I mean, the connection is important, but it's more about just this deep I think I might have said this in Brian's or in another episode here, but when we were like that marriage is, or part of what marriage is being the holder of the other person's solitude, being the key holder, and holding the space around the other person's solitude, like respecting who they are in their own singular expression, and that mutual respect. So I'm feeling that first. I'm feeling like a lot of this is connected to that, but just a lot of this space holding is really coming in with, I'm just feeling a lot of space to be, feel, move through life exactly how you want to without the other person judging that. Complete openness, really good communication with, like, if there's ever a time where it's like, where there's any kind of difference in either opinion or like morals or ethics or whatever, that there's that deep level of respect is just the what's that word, like the root, and it's will always, no matter what happens, that's always where you guys go back to, and the lack of judgment and having a safe space to be able to express however you want. It's not only really important to both of you, but it's something that is important. It's important to both of you to respect and honor that in the other person. I feel what I'm seeing, Lisa, is you standing there, and I'm seeing spirit push Brian toward you. It's like they waited for you to be at a certain moment, and then they were like, hold on, let me think. It's not you. Hold on. Yeah, it was like you called him in, but he was like delivered. I know. Sorry, Brian. I don't make it sound like you're a UPS delivery or something. But that's what they're showing me. They're showing me that it quite literally was like a delivery. Like they waited for you to be at a certain space in your life, and then spirit pushed him in. And
it's pretty much how it happened.
Yeah, and this is also for his soul's growth too. It's like it was time for him to expand, not only to expand spiritually. And the way to do that is to have someone else reflect back to you either what you know or don't know, and you're the perfect mirror for that. So you're like his perfect mirror for his next spiritual journey. It's almost like he was delivered to you for you to give him that gift, but at the same time to be in that connection, in that space of non-judgment and that mutual respect and honor. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other relationship I'd like to know about is my bestie, Nicole. Because I don't know what I'd do without her.
Aw, I wasn't expecting that one.
We had lives together, or
Aww.
did we come here to do something special together?
Okay, let me go into that. This is interesting. You both show up in my image bank or whatever as fireflies. It's like you're both in a field and you're lit your little lights. And it's almost like it's a huge field filled with fireflies or lightning bugs or whatever you want to call them. And it's like, it's almost like those movies where there's a goal that all of the like lightning bugs or bees or whatever it is are trying to, like, this is the job we do, this is like we serve the queen or whatever, and they do the same things and the same thing. And it's almost like you were in that community, like as souls, where you were all like doing the work and this is what I'm supposed to do, but then it's like you both kind of broke the status quo to like be with one another. It's like you both found one another and was like, let's break out of this joint or something like that. It was like So I'm feeling like a really like rabble rouser, and also kind of like a like you two getting together to like break the rules, or like like I'm really feeling a let's break out of this joint kind of thing. Like if you met each other in other circumstances, no matter what lifetime you meet, you're going to meet as like, I'm just seeing a lot of mischief.
Well, I
think that's
I'm
mostly
definitely a
Nicole.
rule breaker. I don't like to do what everyone else is doing.
Do you, I wonder if that's your soul has like found Lisa's soul in order to break her out of the convention of what she thinks she needs to do. It's like it's almost like you came in and were like, who's the most prim and proper soul in this room, and how can I rev up their motor?
It's funny because like Lisa and I feel like are in places where I want to be at the place what she's done in her life, and I feel like she's at the place where she wants to do what I've done in my life already. Like I've done the traveling and done like just going out and exploring the world and going wherever I wanted, when I wanted, and just done all that. And now I want to put roots down and have a family, and I feel like Lisa's done the family, she's had the roots, and it's kind of time to spread her own wings and fly wherever she wants to fly.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So yeah, it would make sense that we're both kind of here to mirror for one another that aspect.
Yeah, it just feels like a very to bust out of, like I said, busting out of the status quo, which for your human expression would be like whatever status quo is for you. So like status quo for Lisa maybe is the roots and living in the same place and doing, you know what I mean? And yours status quo is running around, having fun, traveling and everything. And like the opposite is what you're looking for.
Yeah. Like I would say like now I want more tradition.
Yeah.
Before is like I couldn't stand tradition.
That's where I'm at.
I'm just going to quickly go into that, like what you guys just said, like about that part of your connection, and see if there's anything else there. Yeah, I keep seeing different connections look different, but I see you both not only breaking out of like the normalcy for whatever normalcy is for you. So I think that's where that mischief, like let's do something wrong or bad, or like let's get together and like they're showing me like Freaky Friday. You know that movie with I like the one with Haley Mills, the Haley Mills one.
That's funny. That's actually a really funny analogy.
Like that, watch that. They're telling me to tell them to watch that together because that's like the whole mischievous, like let's get together and like let's yeah,
let's switch bodies.
Yeah. They're always getting mischievous and like I mean that's what it is that you've done. You're like switching bodies a little bit, switching expressions. That is funny. Yeah, Haley Mills Freaky Friday. Watch it again.
I'll have to watch it. I've never seen it.
You haven't? Oh my God. Now I gotta watch it.
You haven't?
I'm not a big TV movie watcher. I don't.
Oh yeah, you gotta watch the Haley Mills one though.
I don't even know who she is, so there's that.
Blasphemy. Yeah, just go watch that together and you'll just laugh so hard.
Remember, this is like one of my only Earth lives. Like what to do here. TV's not a thing.
TV's not one of them. Well, yeah, you'll laugh so hard when you watch that one. Oh my gosh.
So the only last thing I would just ask if there's anything else that would help me remove any blocks to my energy that's keeping me from moving forward.
Yeah, they're showing me kind of a push and pull of like They show like a hot air balloon. I sometimes get this, this is one of the ones that comes up a lot for me, like this hot air balloon thing, which is like your human expression is you being tethered into the ground, and you're like in the hot air balloon and can't move up. So it's like I feel you stuck in between two parallel universes almost, where you like feel like a lot of it is based on what's that word? I can't think of the word, but like feeling like you need to do something even though you don't want to, like having the they're showing me that like most of what you do, the decisions you make are based on like, oh, I have to do this instead of this what I want to do. And I think this is circling back to the beginning, because we talked about this, that tapping more into doing what you want to do as opposed to what you have to do. But let me see what blocks are coming up, because they show me like you being connected to the ground. You're in the hot air balloon. You can't go up further, and you're really frustrated. Like you're in the hot air balloon, like crying. You're upset. You can't move. And they're showing me that like there are scissors on the ground. So it's like you can pick up the scissors and cut that cord, but you haven't chosen to yet. So it's like, and the cord is the fear. You know, the cord are your fears or limitations keeping you here. So, and like I said earlier with the negotiation table, sitting at the negotiation table with these fears and limitations and having conversations with them, I really feel like this is an actual practice that you get to do, where it's like sitting down and writing up each, whether it be money or your business or whatever story comes up as to why you can't live the true expression of your soul. And releasing those. By the way that you release them is by not analyzing them to death or anything, but just getting accepting them as part of you instead of what's holding you back. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Sure.
There's like, they're showing you there's like no magical wand. There's no thing that you know what I mean? There's like, it's part of what you're here to do as a human, which is like, look at those things and fully embrace them instead of resisting them. Because they're showing like you on an island, like a deserted island. Like the more you don't move forward and do what you want to do, the more isolated you're going to feel. And it's a choice. Sometimes the choice, like we can't force ourselves to choose sometimes it just happens in a certain part of your life. So I really do keep feeling this transitional period where like there's certain things that need to occur a little bit, and time needs to pass, not that much time, but for you to come to these awarenesses and conclusions without and allowing it to happen as it will. But I do see things shifting and moving. It's just making friends with the fear and working with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, fear. That's something probably everybody has to work on, right?
And I've been doing this program called Calling in the One. And you go in thinking it's about like manifesting a soulmate, but really it's all about the ways that we block our true expression and the ways that we block ourselves from receiving love and abundance, things that may be completely unconscious to us, and how most of the time we try to blame it on external sources and we shouldn't blame it on ourselves, but there's just stuff inside of us that we haven't opened up and looked at that is unconsciously holding it, or subconsciously or unconsciously holding us back, that when you start looking at those things, everything will be able to move easier, you know? And I do think that us like
right.
reuniting your old identity and your new identity will, like, I keep hearing the next month. So give things a month to play out, and because just opening the records and being in this space is enough to like get the juices flowing. So just know that sometimes when I do a reading, it'll affect the person for the next year, 2, 3 years. So know that things will start to unwind a little bit. I'm saying the word unwind.
I've done some of that work on my own, like trying to connect myself with my older self. So
yeah, keep doing that, and keep, like I said, creating that neutral room where you're like looking at each other and have actual conversations. Just keep connecting them. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to close the records unless you have another question. Okay.
No, that's it.
It is with grace and reverence that I honor the Lords of the Akashic Records. It is with gratitude and unconditional love that I bow to the masters, teachers, and loved ones. And it is with integrity and faith that I give praise to the Holy Spirit of Light. Into the realm of Akasha, I proclaim, the records are now closed. And so it is.
Good job, Erin.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
How do you feel about your reading, Lisa?
Good information.
What?
Brian looks like he wants to share something.
Sure.
I'm gonna blow some minds.
You are.
Well, when Erin was talking about you being in the room looking at your old self and new self, I saw something. I don't want to say I saw something, but an idea came to my mind, and I think it's gonna blow some minds. Did I say that?
He feverishly started writing something down.
I did. I didn't want to forget it. So I saw the imagery that you described when you were hypnotized on the train platform and you saw Bob.
Mm-hmm.
I think you saw yourself. And it was that connection of old self and new self, because you've often told me, and Nicole, and you've said it on the show, that you didn't feel like an individual before. You were the marriage. So for you to look back and see yourself, but actually see your ex-husband, that makes sense.
Oh, because you were tied so strongly to that relationship.
Yeah, we were so codependent. Yeah. Like I was him and he was me. It was.
Yeah, I feel like when you were saying that, I would agree with Brian. I didn't, like, I think it's cool. First of all, let me just address Brian having an image in his mind. That's how it shows up for us. It seems like an idea, or it can come in as a very strong vision in the mind. So that's really cool, Brian. And I just want to say to our audience, that's amazing. But I had the same idea, a very similar idea as Brian when you guys were talking about that I've often felt, and I don't know, Lisa, if you and I have discussed this, but that one of the reasons why you're so fearful of going back, because you've had so many dreams with your ex and that life, and you're just like, this isn't me anymore, that if you were to reintegrate that part of you that was in that like time of your life, the marriage, that you would somehow slip back into the parts of that life that you don't ever want anymore.
Mm.
Yeah, I keep having these reoccurring dreams. I had another one just not last night, but the night before, where I'm just going about my life like I'm in a house and a kitchen and whatever. And then I realize that I'm married to my ex-husband. Like he's in the kitchen and then he's talking to me, or I hug him or something, like something just normalcy happens. And then all of a sudden I go, like I jump back from him and go, no, wait, I am not married to you again. Like, and I just have this epiphany in my dream that how did this happen? This isn't right. No, I don't want this.
It would be interesting for you to reinterpret some of those dreams and put your face
Ooh.
there.
Just like,
And that it's not
yeah,
him,
just like
that it's you.
Just like when Linda was on our show and Jesus told her to put her face on a rapist's body and then ask, why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
For your healing. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, that reminds me of in the Akashic records, sometimes I'll have people that either got molested or had something terrible happen to them, and we'll go into past lives. We'll see that in a past life, that person did the same thing to them. So it's like they came back, they just keep coming back into other expressions of lifetimes to like hurt each other until they learn. Yeah,
Scary.
it is. But when you come clear in your mind that that's what it is, because when you were talking about the jumping back and saying, no, I'm not married to you, that's another fear that comes up. And if what Brian says about like, just imagine that's you, that's a way to do both, to talk to that previous self about that dream and what you're experiencing, but also the fear that comes up of that. Like, what if that was true? What if that was real? How would I feel? And what about that isn't me? What about that is me? And just really digging into that.
Yeah, it feels scary. I feel in my dream like, oh my God, I wouldn't have made this mistake again. Like, how could I let myself
and that's
do
yep.
this?
But
shame thing.
Recently you've talked about missing some aspects of who you were during that time. And, that idea being planted makes sense, that you are seeing, that one image is so strong. And unfortunately, you look at the one image at face value and say, I don't want to see that. But, you've been telling me, it's like, I used to do things. I used to behave in a certain way, and I miss some of those parts of me. So, I mean, this idea of reconnecting with
I get it.
two sides of the coin.
I get it.
Yep, that's where all the juiciness is.
I liked the vision of Brian being a spiritual UPS delivery. I really thought that was cute. And then I wanted to also jump back into when you guys were talking about this idea of old souls versus new souls, but then you had the other layer on of like, oh, you may be an old soul of like past ET lives, but a new soul to Earth. I think that's very interesting because I don't think a lot of people understand that can be a possibility as well. Like you may not have gotten so caught up in the karmic cycle here as some people have.
Yeah, but it's more so
in a sense
new experience. Like, let's be a human since I've been 5,000 different types of aliens. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's really cool. Like just a whole another way of looking at things. Than what we're traditionally taught to think. Because I remember like growing up thinking, oh, I feel like an old soul, and I thought to myself, oh, I'm pretty sure I've had like hundreds of lifetimes here on Earth. Like I just must for the way I feel. And then like Lisa and I both had our Akashic records read, and I found out I'm not even in the triple digits.
I think I had 56. I did never ask you the number, but I had. And she said
that makes sense because when I did mine, I got the number 444. Yeah, and it's
wow.
Oh, that's
funny because
cool.
we were talking.
Did Brian have a number?
Did I say 5 something?
No, I don't. You said the number 534 came up, but it was not in reference to that. I don't think
you got.
But it's just funny when you talk about that, Nicole, because I feel like. Because it just shows the egoic nature of humans, because we think that the only life is a human life. We don't understand that, like, it's like, oh, because when people ask me about past lives, all they're thinking is how many human lives have I had? And I'm like, no, you're so limited by the human expression that you think that's all there is. And it's not.
Yeah.
It's just kind of cute.
And some of those lives I heard, in other planets, in other systems, you could live to be 1,000 years old. So one life could have been.
Yeah, so you can have like 45 lifetimes or whatever and be,
a really old soul.
Hundreds of thousands of years old. Yeah.
But you can also be living all of those lifetimes at the same time, correct?
Yeah, and parallel. in parallel.
Staying on top of it, Brian. I like it.
Yeah. And the
I
parallel
just
thing,
I just want to make a clarification. I cannot be put into a box.
That's
a
why
UPS box?
yeah, that's why when the UPS delivered you, it was through teleportation. There was no box.
I think Erin said something about you being pushed on me
Like pushed toward you.
Forced onto you.
because I wasn't quite ready. But I asked for you. But then when you showed up, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want you now.
I want to know what the shipping and handling costs were.
COD.
Yeah, it was just like pushed,
Still not ready for you.
Thrust upon you a little bit, but in a way that kind of let's change your soul expression again. And I feel like he's also, that is pushing you into this work you're doing now with who am I now, who was I then, because if you didn't have him to reflect that to you, you'd just be floating around.
He's very, very supportive. I mean, everything you described about our relationship was spot on. It's so true because we're so different, but we honor those differences in each other, just like, how we are here on the podcast, and without, judging each other and leaving space for each other to be whoever we need to be. And so it's like, I still, even though Brian came quickly into my life and I may not have been ready in the sense of like healed from my prior marriage and all that, he gives me so much space that I'm able to do that. So it's like a 2-for-1. Yes. I get to be married and have a space to heal from what I need to heal from at the same time.
Yeah, like support when you need it, active support when you need it, and passive, like just stand back and support me, but not actively. You get both of it. Yeah.
He's patient with some things. Not so much with others.
This is true.
Yep.
We all have our
yes.
strengths and weaknesses.
Especially having to like live with one another, and we all have our own separate stuff, and then we mesh it in with other people's stuff, and it's a miracle that we can even live together without killing each other all the time.
It really is.
It is.
Especially when you're having your own challenges, and then you're having to deal with other people's challenges, yes. And you can barely deal with your own, and it can be really, really tricky.
Yeah, especially if you're more of a let's hang out on different planets than why am I here on this earth?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like the idea that light language is your escape.
It's like going home.
To kind of reset or reconnect with
the mothership.
I was just going to say that.
Not being tied to the 3D.
Yeah, that's how you connect.
I get to not be human for a while.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Well, thank you so much. You did a fantastic job.
You're so welcome.
As always.
You're so welcome. It's such a joy. The Akashic Records, every time I do a reading, I sit in gratitude for like 10 minutes afterwards, because it's such a blessing to be able to do this work. And I'm just so humble.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And
do you get these images? You get these images in your head, or just like, is it like a movie reel playing?
It depends.
You?
It's really interesting because I've been working so hard at this to create not only like my own spiritual, toolbox of images, or when I see certain things, I know that this is what this means. So I've done the really hard work to do that. I mean, I think that I probably got the images and stuff before, but I didn't know how to interpret them. And now just through trial and error have learned it. But for the most part, it's interesting. When I open my own records and do my own work inside the records, I just get pages and pages of writing. I see less images and I hear more, like they're just talking to me, and I write down what they say. It's very interesting. And I think that's because I'm a writer, I have a lot of past lives as a scribe, like scribing, like in Egyptian times, like just being the writer and like taking minutes basically. So I feel very attuned to being a scribe and being a writer. So like when I'm opening my own records, write. And then when I open others' records, depending on their own masters, teachers, and loved ones and what they show me, I get a mixture of images, movies, also like perspectives and perceptions. Like they might show me, one time I saw a woman like sitting in a jail cell, and I saw her like only being able to see out of the window, like the tiny little window. And then I was a little like, I think, was this with Nicole? I don't know who this was with, but then I like stepped back, and all of a sudden I was like, whew, like pulled back, and I got to see the whole bigger picture. So I'm shown not only images, but also like my eye is the camera, which is interesting. So I'll see images, and then sometimes I'll be talking about an image I see, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, they just said stop listening to that fear, or something like that. Like I'll hear them say words. So yeah, it's a mixture.
Well, you do a great job.
And then, thank you. And then sometimes, like for you, I felt it in my body. Like I felt the lethargy, and I felt like the air being taken from my body. And I'm like, oof, I can feel this in my physical body. And that's why I do grounding before and after each session, because it can sometimes.
Well, I've been feeling pretty heavy the past couple of days. We've had some personal things happen that have been really difficult. And
yeah,
it's been
that's why
hard couple days.
Yeah, that's why I always say, like, when we schedule readings and stuff, I'm like, it happens the time it's supposed to. So if I schedule a reading with someone like, oh, sorry, my schedule's not open for 3 weeks, and they'll be like, I want the reading now. And I'll be like, you'll see. It'll happen when it's supposed to. And then the 3 weeks will pass, and they'll be like, oh, this person died, or this happened. And they'll be like, now I know.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show with us again, Erin. It's always fun to have you on with us.
You're so welcome. It just feels like a little family, and I really love it. And I'm so grateful to you guys. Thank you so much for having me on and creating this space for me to be able to do this work. Really great.
And how awesome that you got to be the catalyst for Brian's first vision.
Yes, it's funny because like I haven't heard many episodes with him in it. So I'm like, to me, people seeing like visions or hearing ideas or something is like normal. So I'm like, what? That's just normal. And I'm like, oh, I guess he doesn't do that. Okay, cool.
He does it, but he just, like, it's the thing that I think a lot of people, they have this preconceived idea, which maybe is like through movies or books. Like, I don't know how it comes across, of how it's supposed to feel or look or, or sound, depending on what format it's coming through. And the best way that I can describe it is that it's a thought or an idea that comes in that doesn't feel like I just thought it. It's like it got placed there.
Yeah. And that's why I like the clairs, the 6 clairs, claircognizance, clairvoyance, etc. Mm-hmm. It's like claircognizance is clear knowing. Like that's an idea. Like I just know it and I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I always say when I work with people with their intuition, they're like, I don't know if it's me or something else. And I'm like, it can be both, and it can be you, because we're all divine creators. Whatever you create in your idea space or in your mind is always information from somewhere other than within,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, let our audience know where they can reach you, or how they can reach you if they are interested in booking an Akashic Records reading with you.
Oh, great. Yeah. So my website is still being worked on, but for now I am erinspirational.youcanbook.me. And that is for my individual services. And also just really Erinspirational is my name across everything. So I'm mostly on Facebook. So on Facebook, if you just search for Erinspirational, which is ERINSPIRATIONAL, like the word inspirational, but with an ER at the beginning. And so I have a Facebook business profile on there, and then Instagram, same name. And all my links for booking are on any of those. And I have if anyone's in the Los Angeles area, I have a workshop coming up on October 11th. From 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And that is a 2-hour Akashic Records workshop. So it's just us sitting around, and I teach you how to open your own records and ask about your soul's purpose, what you're here for, and what the next step you can take to get there, and how to navigate it.
Great. And to our audience, please send us in any questions that you may have that you'd love for us to answer on the show, because we will. Or if you have topic ideas that you'd like us to discuss that you haven't heard yet, we'd be more than happy to discuss them for you. And if you have any guests that you'd like us to bring on the show, just send all of that information into our email, info@enlightenup.us. And that's about it. So we'll be back with you guys next week. Thank you, Erin, very much. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show, and we look forward to having you on again.